We've come to the second gate of the 10 gates of Kammasaka Zen, known as Rising Sun. This is about deepening the understanding in Zen and the nature of mind. Also impermanence, emptiness, and interconnectedness. So let's begin. Zen is the path of direct experience, emphasising intuitive insight over intellectualisation. Zen teachings point towards the understanding of fundamental aspects of reality, which include the nature of mind, impermanence, emptiness, and the interconnectedness of all things. These teachings are not meant to be merely understood intellectually. They must be realised through direct experiential insight, going through meditation, mindfulness, and an engaged life. The nature of mind. The nature of mind is a central theme in the Zen philosophy. In traditional Buddhist terms, the mind is seen as a continuous stream of thoughts, emotions, perceptions, and consciousness. But however, Zen invites its practitioners to go beyond this surface understanding and to penetrate the true nature of mind. It's pure, formless, and has boundless essence. It's often referred to as no mind, or mushin, or original mind. And it's pointing to a state of awareness that is unclouded by thoughts or perceptions or concepts. When we look at it in the relationship to intellectual understanding, at the intellectual level, Zen suggests that the mind is not isolated, not an isolated fixed identity, but rather it is a dynamic and fluid process, ever changing with the flux of our experiences. And this challenges our ordinary ego-centered perception of a stable self that exists apart from the world. In Zen texts, such as the Platform Sutra, or the teachings of the great masters like Dojin, Zen emphasises that the mind is inherently free from forms and concepts, or fixed forms and concepts. But human beings obscure this pure nature through attachments and through delusions. But then we need to look at experiential understanding. So in meditation, in the experience of meditation, Practitioners are encouraged to observe the mind without interference. And this practice, often referred to as Zazen or sitting meditation, it allows one to see the consistent rising and passing of thoughts and feelings and sensations. And then over time, one begins to realise that the mind's true nature is not defined by these transient phenomena. Rather, there is a deeper, unchanging awareness beneath the thoughts. And it's this realisation that can lead us to a profound shift in understanding, where one is able to see the mind not as something limited by individual identity, but rather we see it as a boundless and interconnectedness with all of life. And then it's through this process that practitioners come to realise that thoughts and emotions, they're not problems to be eliminated, but they are simply waves on the surface of this vast ocean of consciousness. And it's this insight into the nature of mind that can bring profound inner peace and a sort of sense of spaciousness as one becomes less attached to the ego and one becomes more attuned to being and living in the present moment. Now, impermanence, we talked about impermanence. The teaching of impermanence is not just a philosophical observation, but rather it's a lived reality that Zen practitioners are encouraged to investigate deeply. Everything in life, whether physical objects, mental states, or even relationships, they are all subject to change. Everything is subject to change. Everything is fluid. Everything is dynamic. Nothing stays the same. And we need to have intellectual understanding about this. And it's at an intellectual level that we understand impermanence by observing the world around us. Seasons change, plants grow and wither, and people age and pass away. Everything is in constant change, everything is impermanent. And in Zen texts, impermanence is often discussed as a means to point out the futility of attachment. If everything is subject to change, then subsequently clinging to anything as a permanent object is simply a source of suffering and discontentment. Now, Dojin, one of the most prominent Zen masters of the past, emphasises and talks about impermanence in his great work, the Shoben Genzo. particularly in Fasudal or Uji, being many time, where he teaches that time itself is impermanent. And each moment is a complete expression of impermanence. And the notion that this too shall pass is deeply embedded in Buddhist thought. And it serves as a reminder of the transient nature of all phenomena. But when we start to talk about experiential understanding, and through mindful practice and meditation, practitioners experience impermanence directly. In Zazen, for example, one notices the continuous arising and passing away of thoughts, sensations, and emotions. This is the feeling of impermanence. There is no static self to hold on to. There is no experience that lasts forever. And it's this experiential insight into impermanence that can profoundly alter one's relationship to life itself, reducing attachments to transient pleasures and fears, and fostering a sense of acceptance and equanimity. Now, one powerful practice in Zen involves contemplating death, not as a morbid exercise, but as a means to recognise the fleeting nature of existence and to cultivate appreciation for the present moment. In Kinhin, walking meditation, every step becomes an opportunity for us to witness the impermanence of the body and the external environment around us. As the body moves, so does the mind, revealing that nothing is fixed. And then with sustained practice, this understanding moves from one abstract concept, or from an abstract concept, to a lived experience. And this makes it easier for the practitioner to let go of unnecessary attachments. And once we can let go of these unnecessary attachments, we can become more fully engaged in life's unfolding as it unfolds by moment. But then there's emptiness, isn't there? Shunyata. Emptiness is perhaps one of the most challenging and misunderstood teachings in Buddhism. In Zen, emptiness does not imply nihilism or the absence of reality, but rather the understanding that no phenomena exists independently, or no phenomena has a permanent inherent essence. Emptiness states that all things are interdependent and all things are co-arising. So when we understand emptiness intellectually, it is understood as a lack of inherent existence in all phenomena. Everything is empty of a separate self, meaning that everything exists in relation to everything else. Now, this particular teaching is closely linked to the concept of dependent origination. Some call it dependent rising, doesn't it? Dependent origination, which holds that all phenomena arise in dependence upon conditions. Now, the Heart Sutra, being one of the central texts in Zen, encapsulates this teaching with the famous phrase that form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Now, for many, many practitioners, the grasping of this concept intellectually is the first step in loosening the grip of ego-centered thinking. When we begin to see that our thoughts, our feelings, and our experiences do not exist in isolation, but rather they are part of a larger web of an interdependent process, then it becomes easier for us to let go of rigid ideas about the self and about the world. But we need to talk about emptiness in relation to experiential understanding. In this case, the realization of emptiness, however, is not achieved through intellectual study alone. In meditation, and particularly in the deep states of stillness, then practitioners may experience a dissolution of the boundary between self and other. And the solid sense of I begins to fade. And when the solid sense of I begins to fade, what remains is simply pure awareness. And this pure awareness is unbounded by personal identity. This is a direct experience of emptiness. Not as a void, but as an openness and interconnection with all things. Emptiness can be also realized in daily life. It can be realized in daily life through mindful practice, in the practice of samu, work meditation. Practitioners can engage in simple tasks, sweeping, cooking, cleaning, but do so with full attention. And it's in this state of mindfulness that one realizes that these activities are not separate from one's life, but they are part of the ever-changing, interdependent flow of our existence. task, the practitioner, and the environment are all empty of fixed essence, yet they arise together in perfect harmony. And it's through this practice the practitioner learns to embrace emptiness, not as a negation of life, but as a dynamic and compassionate engagement with the world around us. And then, in the realization of emptiness, there is no separation between self and other. And this leads naturally to the experience of interconnectedness. The interconnectedness of all things. So, interconnectedness or interdependence is a natural extension of the undertaking of emptiness. In Zen, all things are seen as interconnected. Nothing exists in isolation. Now, this understanding is not merely a philosophical idea, but rather it's a direct insight gained through the deepening of practice. But then we also need to have intellectual understanding about this. And it's from this intellectual perspective that interconnectedness is related to the Buddhist teachings of dependent origination. Dependent origination, which states that all phenomena arise in dependence on causes and conditions. Everything arrives in dependence on causes and conditions. Now, this teaching of interconnectedness, it invites us to see that every thought, every action, and every object, it's a part of a larger interwoven tapestry of existence. And Zen teachers such as Master Thich Nhat Hanh, with his concept of interbeing, make this quite clear. He says, for example, the paper we write on, for example, contains within it the sun, the rain, the soil, the trees, and the labour of countless people. So that nothing exists in isolation. And to understand one thing fully, we must understand its relation to everything else. Which means we have to have experiential understanding as well. And through meditation and mindfulness, once again, this understanding of interconnectedness becomes experiential and clear. And it's when sitting in meditation that the practitioner may come to realise that the breath is not just a simple individual action, but rather a shared exchange with the environment. The air we breathe in was exhaled by plants, and the air we breathe out becomes a part of the atmosphere for other beings. And I think it's in moments of deep awareness. This is where the boundary between self and other begins to dissolve. And one of the experiences, and then one begins to experience a profound sense of unity with all life. And this realization is often accompanied by a feeling of compassion, as one begins to recognize that the well-being of all beings is intimately connected. As Zen practice deepens, this understanding of interconnectedness transforms the way one can relate to the world. And in this relation with the world, we begin to foster a sense of responsibility, a sense of care, and a sense of reverence for all forms of life. Engaging in mindful activities such as gardening or cooking or walking can also deepen this sense of interconnectedness. And then in the practice of samu, the practitioner may realise that the food prepared, in reality, it's a gift from the earth, the sun and the rain. And the act of cooking is a part of a vast web of interdependent relationships. And then this insight naturally leads to gratitude and a deeper appreciation of life, and a deeper appreciation of life's interconnectedness with nature. So, in conclusion, the deepening of understanding in Zen Buddhism is not a matter of accumulating knowledge, but of directly realizing the nature of mind, understanding impermanence, emptiness, and interconnectedness. And realizing that through meditation, mindfulness, and daily practice of awareness, that Zen practitioners can then come to see that these teachings, they're not abstract concepts, but they are lived realities. And that the nature of mind is realised as boundless and free from attachments. Impermanence becomes an intimate recognition of the changing nature of things. And that emptiness reveals the interdependence of all phenomena and the interconnectedness. And this interconnectedness fosters a sense of compassion and unity with all life. And as practitioners deepen their understanding and they begin to move beyond the intellectual study and come to embody these teachings in every aspect of their daily lives, this is experiential. Then this experiential wisdom leads to a life of greater peace, leads to a life of greater compassion and freedom. And it's this compassion and freedom that is rooted in the present moment and in the understanding that all things are connected. And they're all connected in an ever-changing flow of existence.